Hello, everybody. I am Samantha, and welcome to my channel, Self Care Samantha. I want to tell you a little bit about myself and my channel so that when we go through all my videos together, everything makes a little bit more sense to you. So, who am I? I just told you. My name is Samantha. Self Care Samantha channel is all about self care, but I don't mean the self care we're sold. I mean the self care that works. And why I'm doing this is because I had to learn. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story so that we maybe relate to each other, because I would bet there's a lot of people who are very similar to me in the world who have been struggling and wondering why when our friends say, just do a little self-care, it doesn't work, okay? So what is this channel? This channel is going to be a long time series of all the things I've learned about what is self-care. One of the things I live by is that the quality of your self-care is the quality of your self-love, and that is the quality of your life, okay? So that's really important. So this is what happened to me. I grew up really fast, and because I grew up so fast, I skipped a lot of stuff. And because I skipped a lot of stuff, I lived in survival mode for a very long time, and I couldn't understand why my life wasn't progressing. And when I look around me and look at other people around me, I thought my life is in shambles. Like, my house was always a mess. I had a hard time keeping up to my bills, even though I had a good job and made money. I wasn't eating well. I always had bad acne. I was sick all the time. So not just sick and tired, but I also had a chronic condition that turned out to be stress that showed as migraines. Okay. So in that period of my life, whenever I would ask people, like, what am I doing wrong? Or like, what's going on? And how come your life isn't like that? And how come mine is? I would always get this response from people that'd be saying, just do a little self-care, Samantha. And I'd be like, okay, but what does that mean? And their answers were never clear. There was no clear, obvious answer. What is self-care? So for example, I was struggling with my finances and they'd tell me, well, just go spend a day at the spa. Spa's like $160 for the day. I did not have money for that. So going to the spa was actually detrimental, not self-care, okay? So this is one of the first things I really want to point out to you, is that a lot of the things we're sold is escapism, not self-care, okay? So I started questioning a lot of things. And to be honest with you, I'm a very questioning person. And I really get down and dirty with words because people use words, but often don't know what they mean. So I started asking people, well, what do you think self-care means? And they were such, benign, surfacey answers. Just go get your nails done. Have a night out with the girls. Go to the spa. Like, none of that stuff helped me. None of that stuff is even who I am. I'm 40 and I still don't do my nails because that doesn't bring me joy, okay? So I started questioning, well, what is it that we all have to do, So one of the things that we used to be told was you have to shelter and you have to get food. Well, that's not self-care, that's basic survival. So in the modern world that we live in, it occurred to me there's more going on. So I dug and I dug and I dug and I studied and I studied and I studied and I studied, and I discovered that there's actually 8 elements to self-care. And that ultimately, if we start consciously taking care of those 8 elements, our lives will improve. And one of the things I can be sure of is that these 8 elements are the actual things that every adult in the modern world needs to take care of in order to have a pretty homeostatic life, or a pretty level life. So yes, we all have to take care of the same things, but that certainly does not mean that we all have the same life. But just like you, I need groceries, and you, just like me, need to live in a house, and just like you, I still need to go and hang out with my friends, and you, just like me, have to find ways to be creative. All of those are part of our self-care. So I want to teach people this because I know that if I would have learned this at least 10 years earlier, that I would probably be 10 years ahead in maturity, in understanding life, and just being good at taking care of myself so that my life feels really good. So I want to say it to you one more time. The quality of your self-care is literally the quality of your life. So what are the 8 elements? I'm going to break it down into 3 different categories. There's your inner world, okay, so inside, which is mostly up here, maybe part of here. There's your outer world, which is going to include exterior elements, okay, that you are going to be in or going to. And then there's the midpoint, which is our body. And this body that we all get is the driving force to everything. So we have to take extra good care of this vehicle that we're all living inside. I'm sure you've heard it, your true home is your body. Well, that is a true fact. I have traveled, I've lived abroad, I have lived practically homeless, and I have lived in the riches of life, and nothing has changed about my body other than needing to take care of it and making sure she's good. And the more I take care of my body, the easier it is for me to regulate, and the easier it is for me to manage all of those self-care things that have to be done at the very least on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis. So let's talk about what those things are. On our inner world, we have our mental self-care. So I want to be really particular here. I really dislike the term mental illness because mental is intellect. And I know for a fact that everybody I've ever met, unless they have an actual brain, like physical brain damage or severe developmental factor that happened to them from birth, chances are they're more than smart enough to figure out their problems. Okay. That's going to insult some people. I'm not sorry. Because I know for a fact when I would talk to different people and doctors, they would say things to me like, oh, you have ADD or you have this or you have that. No, son, I was just growing up too fast with a lot of trauma and I had no guidance. And when I started to learn how to guide myself, all of those things that were labels seemed to melt away and people would be like, oh, you could never be labeled as something like that. Well, maybe 10 years ago. Okay, so mental is part of the first thing. So mental self-care is keeping your intellect up, doing puzzles, reading books, literally digging and diving into research that you find very interesting, and also looking at stuff that opposes your ideas to broaden your ideas about why you do or do not agree with something. The next thing is our emotional self-care. That's our part of our inner world. Your emotions are physical, which is a huge reason why we have to take care of our bodies, okay? So let me be really, really clear. Emotions is energy in motion. It's your body's visceral response to the things that are happening, stimulus, okay? So some of us are completely out of whack in our bodies and we respond too fast, too quick to everything. And some of us have become calm and we realize where our energy should and should not be spent. I'm 40. I just got here, guys. I just got here. And now I'm so grateful that I know this, okay? One of the most important things I learned about emotional self-care is that emotions are my body responding, but feeling is the intellectual, the mental part of discerning why is my body responding like this? Some of us, like myself, I spent years in survival mode. I overreacted to everything forever. Now I don't overreact to almost anything except for like minor things. You know, like one time I was living in Mexico and I found a cockroach in my bed. I totally screamed. I'm from Canada. I'm not used to cockroaches. But that's just a small thing. You understand? So, but before, you know, if somebody would blink too many times and I would have an emotional response to that, that's not normal. Okay. So we need to learn how to control our emotions. And that comes mostly through taking care of our body, but it also comes through thinking about why do I respond like this? Okay. Third, in our inner world is our spiritual self-care. We can take this in a few directions, but I want to keep it pretty broad. So yes, I really personally believe we should all find a spiritual path. That doesn't necessarily mean religion. What it really means is purpose, and purpose means reason. And you can find out what your purpose is by just thinking about the stuff you love. Do you love doing art? Maybe your purpose, is to teach art. I personally love speaking and I love words and I love writing. And I know that I am designed to be here on earth to teach things. And I know my purpose is teaching this. Again, it took me years to figure this out. Okay. So I want you to keep hearing some of those repeat messages I'm saying because we don't know all the answers immediately, but we can start the path of discovering them just by following these 8 elements that I'm teaching you today. I also want you to know that over the next course of videos, I'm going to go through these a little bit more in depth so that we have better ideas of how to do those things, okay? So let's move on to our outer world. So this is the second category of the 8 elements. So we've been through 3 elements in our inner world: mental, emotional, and spiritual. In our outer world, we have to think about our environment, okay? So I don't just mean like The turtles and the plastic. I don't even live near the ocean, but I live in the forest and I also live and work in my house. Okay. So if my house is a mess, my work is a mess. So the environment I'm talking about is the place that you spend the most time. That might be where you work. It might be at home. It might be both. But if those places are bananas, you're going to feel bananas. Okay. The next thing I want you to think about in our outer world is our social self-care. One of my favorite sayings is they say that you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you have 5 people in your life that you don't like, you talk shit about, they're not actually your friends, you think they're trashy, but you hang out with them all the time because it's the easiest thing. So, well, you're literally holding yourself down because you choose your friends and you are able to choose your friends. So social self-care is crucial. And there's countless studies about how important this is for your success in any project you want to do. Having the right people around you matters. You have control over that. And we're going to talk about that in depth, okay? The next part of our outer world, the next element is recreation. Recreation. Recreate. That's the word, okay? So art, doing something for fun that's not for money, something you just love doing. Maybe you like playing baseball or bowling. I like doing puzzles. I really, really like taking hikes. There's so many things that we can do that have nothing to do with making money. And those are crucial to keeping ourselves young at heart and young in the head, okay? It's very important that we do things for fun, not just for work and money, okay? And finally, in our outer world is financial self-care. In this world, this is an extremely important factor because unfortunately everything costs money. It's so annoying. But even though everything costs money, there's a way to manage your money. And luckily, that was one thing I got taught by my parents was money management is key. And it's a lot more important than how much money you're making. Now, don't get me wrong. It matters how much money you're making because we have to live up to the cost of life. But all of us can stand to manage our money a little bit better. And trust me, when I took that under my wing and I started hearing my dad's voice saying, just start to manage your money, and I started doing it, lo and behold, I had a lot more money than I thought to spend on the things that were a lot more fun than focusing solely on bills. Okay. So that, my friends, is 7 out of our 8 elements. And finally, our body is the 8th element. Okay, so the body is the midpoint between your inner world and your outer world. So inner, mental, emotional, spiritual. Outer, your environment, your social, your recreation, and your money. Without this body, you can't have any of those. Okay, so your body really, 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 really matters. Okay, it really matters to the point that it's going to determine all kinds of things. If you eat bad food, it's going to affect how you think. You might not believe that, but just try a 20-day challenge where you eat really healthy and go back to junk food and you will notice. Great example, I have been eating mega clean for the last 3 months and I had pizza this weekend and I literally had a hangover from it. And pizza is not even some of the worst food that we have. So that's just something that you can realize. And if you start noticing any of your friends taking fitness and nutrition seriously, they'll tell you like, oh, I had a donut yesterday. I feel like hell. That's real. That's how much it affects you. But if your body is so used to it, you have no idea how you're being affected yet. So these are 8 elements that every single one of us has to take care of. So I want you to know a little bit about me. Why can I teach this? Well, firstly, I spent years of my life studying this. Secondly, I have great credentials. I have cognitive behavioral therapy under my belt, as well as neurolinguistic programming. I'm a fitness trainer. I'm a wedding officiant. I'm a firefighter. I have had ridiculous life experience from being homeless and on drugs to having enough money to buy my own house and land with no mortgage. There are things we can do and we can succeed in life in various ways. And I want to be clear, just because I own land and a house doesn't mean I live some Kim Kardashian life. This is my house, guys. I live in a tiny little cottage. I have a squirrel living in my roof right now. I have a shrew coming in and out of my basement. It's not perfect, but it's mine and it makes me happy. And this is my happiness. It's not what was sold to me. Okay. I wasn't looking for escapism. I was looking for the life I've always wanted to live. So remember what I said at the beginning of the video. A lot of self-care is sold to us, but it's actually escapism and it's not true self-care. So I grew up quickly. I had to live on my own by the time I was 15. I was responsible for people's properties, lives, handicaps, and more. And I was losing my mind. Okay. I did that while I was on drugs. I managed, I don't know how. I have experienced violence beyond belief and got through it. I don't know how. I often wonder why I'm even alive today. And I did it. And I want to share this with people because I have met countless people in my lifetime who are as lost as I was. And I can't help every single person I meet, but in this format, I can help as many people as I'm meant to. At least that's how I feel. So, again, my name is Samantha. I want to teach self-care in what I would describe as the holistic process of it all. And I want to teach everybody what they can do. I have a method that you can kind of see behind me that I want to teach you also on how to keep yourself on track. And if you follow me through this next series of videos and on, I promise you'll be able to figure out how to take care of yourself to improve the quality of your life. And it's not going to cost you money. Okay. You don't have to do anything other than maybe get a chalkboard or a whiteboard. Maybe you're going to do some of the workouts that I leave here, but I promise you, I'm going to show you how to do things without having to break the bank. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I cuss, I laugh, I'm going to show you bloopers. My cat will probably show up in videos sometimes, and I'm going to look a mess sometimes, and I'm going to look great sometimes because that's life. I'm not going to show up to you as something that I'm not, especially because I have beautiful friends that follow my page, and they know what I'm like, and I don't want to display anything else other than who I am because I've learned more and more that the more I show me, the better it is for everybody else. So you either love it or you hate it, but either way, I promise you're going to learn something. So welcome to Self-Care Samantha. This is my channel, and I'm going to teach you everything I know for as little as possible. Thanks so much, and have a great day.